At 1:50 in the morning, high above the Atlantic Ocean, a Boeing 767 suddenly begins a silent, terrifying dive. No distress call, no warning, just a rapid fall from 33,000 feet. And the world is left asking, what happened to EgyptAir Flight 990? If you're fascinated by real aviation mysteries and crash investigations, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment to support the BlackBoxX channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful investigation stories every week. EgyptAir Flight 990 took off from New York's JFK Airport on October 31, 1999, heading toward Cairo with 217 people on board. For the first half of the flight, everything appeared perfectly normal. The Boeing 767 climbed smoothly. The crew took their positions, and passengers settled in for the long overnight journey. But just after the flight crossed the east coast and moved out over the Atlantic Ocean, something happened inside the cockpit that no one could have predicted. When the aircraft reached cruising altitude, the captain stepped out of the cockpit for a short break. In those minutes, the relief first officer, Gamil al-Batouti, was left alone at the controls. Moments later, the flight data recorder captured a chilling sequence of events. The autopilot suddenly disengaged, and the aircraft's nose began to drop. Investigators later discovered that the airplane entered a steep, rapid descent so violent that passengers would have felt weightless as the aircraft pointed nearly straight down toward the ocean. The captain rushed back into the cockpit, desperately pulling on the controls and shouting for help. But at that point, the aircraft was falling too fast, and the systems were no longer responding normally. The Boeing 767 briefly climbed again, evidence that the captain was fighting with everything he had. But seconds later, the aircraft entered a second catastrophic dive. At 1:52 a.m., Flight 990 slammed into the Atlantic, leaving almost no debris and no survivors. When the investigation began, the National Transportation Safety Board faced one of the most complex cases in aviation history. Mechanical failure? Bird strike? Atmospheric disturbance? None of the usual suspects fit the evidence. The voice recorder added even more confusion. Instead of technical warnings or system alerts, investigators heard quiet phrases repeated several times, words that only raised more questions. Egypt rejected the idea of intentional action, insisting there must have been a mechanical reason. The United States disagreed, citing the plane's data and cockpit recordings. For years, the case remained locked in controversy, debated by governments, investigators, and aviation experts around the world. No universally accepted conclusion was ever reached. But one thing is certain. The final minutes of EgyptAir Flight 990 remain among the most haunting mysteries